Yo, what's up? This is your girl Dragon, and it's time for another Fortnite creative tutorial. Today, I'm going to show you guys how to make your very own box fight game. And if you enjoy tutorials like these, be sure to drop a like and a sub, that way you don't miss a thing. This is going to be a long one, but once you get into it, you're going to be doing good. So let's go ahead and jump into the tutorial. Let's go. Alright, welcome. Let me show you guys what we're going to be building today, which is going to be a box fight game, super quick and super easy. Let's go ahead and go through the playtest so you can check it out. Alright, players start in a pre-game area where they're automatically split into two teams. When the timer goes down, they're going to be teleported to the game area where they'll see a timer where the barrier is going to drop. Players are able to build in this area if they need to get ready for the game. Players are automatically given weapons and the game starts as soon as the barrier drops. The winning opponent will automatically win the game and it'll go ahead and continue on to round 2. The round will be exactly the same and start off exactly the same. And again, players can do whatever they like here while they wait before the barrier drops. If my opponent wins, they're going to win the game, and I'm going to lose. And you can see now that the wins are 1-1, and we're equally tied. And the game starts here again. Again, this game has only 3 rounds, so you can set your rounds to whatever you like. Right, and then I win the last round and the game ends. Alright, so let me show you how to set this up. First, go over the structure of the game. That way you can write down all the device names and lay down all your devices. So let's get started. Alright, so I went ahead and put the teleporters back where they are supposed to be so you can see how everything kind of connects together. And I also put up the mutator zones so that we are able to see this area here. Alright, so let's go ahead and go through the structure. I have my player spawner pads, and this is going to be a 4x4 box fight. So up to 4 players per team can join the game for a total or max of 8 players. My player spawner pads are named Player Spawner T21P, which stands for Player 1-1, and it goes from there to 1-2, Player 1-3, Player 1-4. For the spawner pads for Team 2, it is the same. Player Spawner T21P2-1, and then we have 2-2, 2-3, and then 2-4. When the players spawn in, they're going to be registered to a player reference device. And you can see the numbers correspond with the player spawn pads. I have player reference device T21, TM1-1, which stands for team, and then TM1-2, TM1-3, and TM1-4. It is also the same for Team 2, player reference device T21, TM2-1, TM2-2, TM2-3, and TM2-4. As the players spawn in, they're going to see a timer counting down, and this is named timer device T21 main. Once that timer device counts down and it's successful, it's going to activate each of these player spawner pads. And when they're activated, it's going to teleport the players to their designated teleporters. And these are the ones that you want to put inside your box fighting match. So I have teleporter T21, TM1-1, and 1-2, 1-3, and 1-4. And if we're going to go to team 2, you can see it's the same teleporter T21, TM2-1, TM2-2, TM2-3, and TM2-4. Now, while all this is going on, there's going to be a player counter that's going to count the number of players in each team, and this is going to be handy when it comes to your game win conditions. And I'm going to be also showing you guys how to do that in this tutorial. So I have one for, let's see, one player counter for team 1, player counter T21 team 1, and one for team 2, player counter T21 TM2. They're each connected to their own game in device. So let's check it out. We got in-game device T21 TM1 for team 1, and then in-game device T21 TM2 for team 2. When the players are teleported, they're going to need their weapons and resources. So I'm going to be using a channel device to assign that. So we have channel device, channel T21 resource grantor, and 2 item grantors. So item grantor T21 weapons and item grantors T21 resources. Now this is great if you're just going to be giving your players just one set of weapons. If you want to do something a little bit more fancy like a voting system, you can definitely extend this time and give them time to vote or pick their weapons. And so that your teams show up on the scoreboard, you're going to need a team settings and inventory device. So I have team settings and inventory T21 TM1 and a class designer TM1, and I have team settings and inventory T21 TM2 for team 2 and class designer team 2. You're going to need 2 mutator zones, and I have mutator zone device T21 for teleport, and you can see this one's named mutator zone device control. Now that you have everything for your pregame, let's go to the game area, and this is where you're going to want to drop your teleporters once everything is set up. You're going to need a barrier and a timer to drop the barrier. Since the players don't stay in this arena after the last player is eliminated, then we don't need any type of build reset, so you don't see that here. Alright, now that you know the structure, let's go ahead and jump into the settings. Let's do it. Now that you dropped all your devices and named them, let's start with the game structure. So let's go to island settings. And I have this set to a max of 8 players, 2 teams, and we're splitting evenly, and I have a total round of 3. Your matchmaking settings can be anything that you like, and so forth. My default class is no class. And again, for game start, it is personal choice. After last spawn, you want to set it to spectating, and we're also going to echo that when we put it into our team setting and inventory device. also want to note here, if you don't want them to spectate other teams, this is where you'll set this to disallowed, or if you want Battle Royale style, you can put it there. I want to go through the player settings here. We don't have anything for world. For HUD info type, you can see what I have here. Again, this is going to be up to you, what you want, if you want the nameplates to show. Again, that's something you can also set in the team settings and inventory. All right, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and go to team settings and inventory for team 1. You can see it's set to a default class of 1 and team of 1. And a spawn limit of 1. And after last spawn, go to spectating. All right, and then for the class designer, TM1. Again, team 1, class of 1. And everything here is kind of personal preference depending on what you want your teams to have. So be sure to try out different things. Again, spawn limit of 1, and after last spawn is going to go to spectating because that's set on the team settings and inventory. You want to make sure your maximum building resources is set to as much as they can carry. And if you want to allow item drop and pickup, you want to put that right there. No functions and no events. All right, and let's check out team 2. And again, it's a team 2 and class of 2. And again, spawn limit of 1, and after last spawn, go to spectating. No functions and no events. All right, and let's go to class designer team 2. Again, team 2 in a class of 2. And no functions, no events. All right, let's go ahead and start with this system here, which is your main system. So starting with player spawner pad T21P1-1. No functions. And we have an event when players spawn. We're going to send an event to the player reference T21 TM1-1 to register the player. And I have a map controller here just for tutorial purposes. You don't have to have one. I have that set to enable. Right, moving on to player reference T21 TM1. This part really isn't something that you need to worry about unless you're going to be using it to show information like, eliminations and score. But for functions, we're going to register player when receiving from player spawner T21P1-1 on player spawn. And we're going to activate when receiving from the mutator zone device T21 teleport when player entering zone. On events, on activated, we're going to send an event to teleporter T21 TM1-1 to teleport. And that's this one right here. Again, this is set to a selected team of 1 and a class of any. And once you move it over, you want to turn the teleporter rift visible to no. For functions, we're going to teleport when receiving from player reference T21 TM1-1 on activated, and so forth. All right, let's move on to the next one. So this one's set to a player team of any, as you can see there. On player spawn, we're going to register them to player reference T21 TM1-2 to register player, which is right here. And again, this part, is all personal preference. And functions, we're going to register player when receiving from player spawner T21 PM1-2 on player spawn, and activate when receiving from mutator zone device T21 teleport on player entering zone. When this device is activated, we're going to send an event to teleporter T21 TM1-2 to teleport, and that is this one right here. Again, it's set to a selected team of 1. And teleport when receiving from player reference T21 TM1-2 on activated, and so forth. For player spawner T21 P1-3, and you can see it's quite the same. When players spawn, we're going to send an event to the player reference device T21 TM1-3 to register the player, which is right here. And let's go ahead and look at functions and events. Register player when receiving from player spawner T21 P1-3 on player spawn. That should be already binded. And activate when receiving from mutator zone device T21 teleport on player entering zone. On events, on activated, we're going to send an event to teleporter T21 TM1-3 to teleport. And that teleporter is right here. Again, it's set to selected team of 1. And teleport when receiving from player reference T21 TM1-3 on activated. And there you go, and to the last player here for this team. And you want to make sure these are all set to island start for on, so I do apologize for that. Make sure these are all on, because this is where the players will be starting. And when players spawn, send an event to player reference T21 1-4 to register the player, which is right here. And functions register player when receiving from player spawner T21 P1-4 on player spawn. Activate when receiving from mutator zone device T21 teleport on player entering zone. And events on activated, we're going to send an event to teleporter T21 TM1-4 to teleport, which is right here. Again, set to a selected team of 1, and so forth. For functions, we're going to teleport when receiving from player reference T21 1-4 on activated, and there's no events. All right, so that's for team 1. You'll see that team 2 is quite the same, except it's all for team 2. I want to make sure I set these to island start as well, because that's very important. All right, let's go ahead and check out the settings for player spawner T21 P2-1. And this is set to player team of 2. No functions and events when players spawn. We're going to send an event to player reference T21 TM2-1 to register player, which is right here. This is quite the same. Register player when receiving from player spawner T21 P2-1 on player spawn, and activate when receiving from mutator zone device T21 teleport on player entering zone. On activated, we're going to send an event to teleporter T21 TM2-1 to teleport, and that is right here. And this is set to a selected team of 2 in a class of any, just like the other, with the exception of the team. For functions, we're going to teleport when receiving from player reference T21 TM2-1 on activated. And there you go. So you can kind of see the pattern going on here. I'll just still go ahead and go through the rest of the settings. Player spawner T21 P2-2. On player spawn, we're going to send an event to player reference T21 TM2-2 to register player. That's right here. And again, this is all personal preference, so I'll just kind of speed through that. We're going to register player when receiving from player spawner T21 P2-2 on player spawn, and activate when receiving from mutator zone device T21 teleport when player entering zone. On activated, we're going to send an event to teleporter T21 TM2-2 to teleport. This teleporter is set to a selected team of 2, and so forth. And for functions, we're going to teleport when receiving from player reference T21 TM2-2 on activated. And no events. Alright, moving on to player spawner T21 P2-3. On player spawn, we're going to send an event to player reference T21 TM2-3 to register player. And here we are. Again, personal preference. For functions, register player when receiving from player spawner T21 P2-3 on player spawn, which should already be binded. Activate when receiving from mutator zone device T21 teleport on player entering zone. On activated, we're going to send an event to teleporter T21 TM2-3 to teleport. And that teleporter is right here. Again, set to a selected team of 2. Teleport when receiving from player reference T21 TM2-3 on activated, and there's no events. Alright, last player for team 4. And this is player spawner T21 P2-4. On player spawn, we're going to send an event to player reference T21 TM2-4 to register player. And again, personal preference. Register player when receiving from player spawner T21 P2-4 on player spawned. Activate when receiving from mutator zone device T21 teleport on players entering zone. And on activated, we're going to send an event to teleporter T21 TM2-4 to teleport, which is right here. Alright, again set to select a team of 2, and so forth. Teleport when receiving from player reference T21 TM2-4 on activated, and no events. Alright, so you've set up both team 1 and team 2. And we've done team settings and inventory for both teams as well. Let's go ahead and check out the timer. So we're going to go to timer device T21 main. So since this is a tutorial, I have it set to 10 seconds, but you can extend this or reduce this, whatever you like to do. It will start at the game start, and so forth. My timer running text is game starts in ... And yes, we're going to have it show in HUD. There's no functions. But for events, on success, we're going to send an event to timer device T21 barrier to start. Mutator zone device T21 to teleport, so we're going to enable that mutator zone device. And then we're also going to transmit a signal on a channel device, so that's channel T21 resource grantor. And just so you know, this timer device is the timer that's in the game area, and that timer is going to start, and once that goes down, it's going to drop the barrier so players can fight. Alright, that completes the timer for the main area. Let's go ahead and move on to the mutator zones. So I have Mutator Zone Device Control. This device is basically to prevent players from hitting one another and that type of thing. So I have this enabled all the time. I have it set to gameplay only, but you can always set it to always if you want it to be just on all the time, just in case it bugs out. So let's just go ahead and set that to always. And you can see here I'm going to increase the height to 4. It's for a selected team of any, class of any, and so forth. And to prevent any type of building and players like hurting one another, I have it set to allow weapon fire off, allow building off, and allow map marker is off. There's no functions and there's no events. Alright, so there you see it covers the entire game area. And that's the entire pregame area. The next mutator zone is Mutator Zone Device T21 Teleport. And this is enabled on phase none. All the rest of this doesn't quite matter. You want to make sure it's selected team any, selected class of any. And for functions, we're going to enable when receiving from timer device T21 main on success. For events on player entering zone, you should already have this binded, but I'll just go through it here for you. Player reference device for team 1 for players 1 through 4 should activate, and player reference device for team 2, players 1 through 4 should activate. Alright, and then there you go. I'm going to go ahead and increase the height on this one. So it covers the entire area. Alright, let's go ahead and jump into the game win conditions, and for that we're going to use a player counter and in-game device for each team. So let's start with player counter T21 Team 1. We have compare player count equal to 0 players. And compare at game start is set to no. Compare on count changes yes. With transmit on player counted, signal only. We're going to transmit for on compare result change last instigator with a counted team of 1. Counted class of 1. We're not going to include spectators. And we're not going to use a zone. For functions, we're going to compare players to target when receiving from player counter T21 TM1 on player removed. And when the count succeeds, we're going to send an event to in-game device T21 TM1 to activate. And again, here you'll see it bind it from functions. On player remove, we're going to send an event to player counter T21 TM1 to compare players to target. So that you understand what's going on here, every time a player is removed from the game, it's going to compare to target. If that target count is equal to 0, then it's going to go ahead and send an event to end the game because it is successful. Because we do want it to be equal to 0. Now for the in-game device for Team 1, which is in-game device T21 Team 1, we're just going to end the round. The winning team is going to be the opposing team, which is Team 2. I have a custom victory callout, which is Team 2 wins. And a custom defeat callout, Team 1 lost. And so forth. The activating team is Team 1, and the allowed class is any. We're going to activate when receiving from player counter T21 TM1 on count succeeds. And that's it. Now moving on to Team 2, player counter T21 Team 2, or TM2, equal to 0 players, and it's exactly the same as Team 1. With the exception of counted team being 2 in class of 2. Keep in mind that you do not want to include spectators. We're going to compare players to target when receiving from player counter T21 TM2 on player removed, and on count succeeds in event to endgame device T21 TM2 activate. On player removed, send event to player counter T21 Team 2 compare players to target. Alright, for the endgame device T21 for Team 2, again TM2, we're going to end the round with the winning team being Team 1. The call out will be Team 1 wins and the defeat will be Team 2 lost. Activating team is Team 2, and so forth. We're going to activate when receiving from player counter T21 TM2 on count succeeds. All right, now that we did that, let's go ahead and grant them their weapons and get this part set up. I'm using a channel device for this, and again, that's channel T21 resource granter. And I have a broadcast here set, and you can actually use this to connect it to another channel device if you want to do more things with it. So go ahead and experiment. It's super cool. For functions, we're going to transmit when receiving from timer device T21 main on success. And when it receives a transmit from the timer, it's going to grant the items. So when it receives that, we're going to send an event to item granter T21 weapons to grant item, and item granter T21 resources to grant item. Again, you could put this all into one device, but I just decided to split it up just to keep it more organized. And when it comes to updating like the map later, I can just like change resources and change the weapons easier if I have them in 2 different devices. So I don't have to like empty out everything. So we have item granter T21 weapon, and you can see the settings here. For functions, we're going to grant item when receiving from channel T21 resource granter on receive transmit. And that's it. And this is exactly the same here. And for functions, grant item when receiving from channel T21 resource granter on receive transmit. And that's it. Now moving to the last step here, which is the box fight area. You're going to need a big barrier to divide the teams. And I have it named barrier device T21. And these are the settings. You can change it to whatever you like here. So if you want it to display like that, you can, or you could use stone. And I just have it set to translucent red due to the tutorial. You want to make sure you adjust your depth and your width and height to fit your box. You want to make sure it does block weapon fire. And if you're using a camera with this, let's say you're doing some type of panning, you can set this to on or off. I have it set to on. I'm not really using that, but that's something to keep in mind. We're going to disable when receiving from timer device T21 barrier on success. And that is this timer right here. So I have timer device T21 barrier. And I have it set to such a low duration due to it being a tutorial. So you might want to extend that to give players enough time to build and secure their area. Make sure that it does not start at the game start, and so forth. My timer running text is alright, so barrier drops in. And we're going to show on HUD. Alright, and then we're going to start when receiving from timer device T21 main on success. And there's nothing else there. And on success, we're going to send an event to barrier device T21 to disable. And that should be already binded. Alright, once you set that up, you can run a test to ensure that the players are spawning where they need to be. And then once that all checks out, you can go ahead and drop those teleporters in your game area. So just so you can see what I mean, we're just going to do a device run through. And this is just one player run through just to make sure I spawn where I need to spawn. And that is correct. So let's go ahead and end the game and move those teleporters to the game area. Quick tip, if you want to rotate teams, let me go ahead and show you how. Then you want to look for team rotation and set it to like every other round or every 3 rounds. To test it out, we'll do every round so you guys can see what that looks like. And now I'm team 1 and the other player is team 2. Now keep in mind that when you do this, they're going to keep their win. So you might want to do it every 3 rounds or so forth. And now you see I'm in team 1. That's it. Yo, hey, pretty easy, right? I do hope this tutorial allows you to build your very own box fight. And if it did, please drop a comment below. Would love to see it. In addition to that, be sure to drop some support my way. My creator code's right there on the screen, and if you do, you are awesome. Alright, you guys, I'll see you on the next video. Alright, keep it positive and safe. Bye!